We'll get around. Oh, he's the best.
Okay. How's everybody?
We are great.
I thought I'd play this just to kind of get the Rhapsody in Blue in here because I'm not going to play it. But this particular recording goes back in the 20s, and that was George himself on the piano. I had another version that I found on Google, and he's out there pounding on the keys, and he's going, I can't even, his fingers are flashing all over the place. But somehow I couldn't find that. But I did find this one, which again is still him playing that before it got orchestrated. So I thought that might be a good place to start. But I wanted to warn you, I'm not playing Rhapsody in Blue.
It's pretty hard to play.
It's pretty darn hard to play. Anyway, why am I doing this in the first place? From what I asked. I know I did.
Because you love the music.
Well, I do like the music. And more than that, well, how many of you have attended? I know a few of you have been attending the Jazz Cafe, right? 1, 2, 3. We got a bunch. I think, I may be wrong in this, but I think every one of those, at least the ones I attended, someone has played Gershwin.
Oh, yeah.
And one, I can't remember his name, the heavyset guy, he played the whole darn thing.
Yeah.
Did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought, who is this Gershwin guy? I know some of his music, but who is he? So I thought I'd look it up and say, well, maybe we should do something on that. Because for those of you that haven't been into any of my programs, I like to put some history into it and put it in perspective. And so that's what I went through using Google mostly, and to kind of get the background. So a little bit of history on George Gershwin. His parents were born in the Ukraine. Jewish ancestry came over from the Ukraine. So all of his siblings, and there were 4, were born in the United States. And he was the second. The oldest one is Ira. Actually, he's 2 years older. Ira was born in 1896. George was born in 1998, 2 years later. Now, Ira lived to the nice ripe old age of 87. The other brother, Arthur, he was born in 1981. That's 5 years after Ira. 1981.
No, 1890.
Sorry?
1890.
No, 1900.
1900.
He was born in 1900. What did I say?
You said 1981.
No. Well, 1981 is when he died.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry. He was born in 1900, and he lived to the age of 81. Then they had a sister, Frances, born in 1906, lived till 1999. So they all lived in their 80s and 90s. Then there's George. Somebody coming in?
Yep.
Yeah, come on in, join us.
That's me.
Then there's George. George was born in 1898. He died in 1937. He was only 39.
Wow.
Unfortunately, he had a brain tumor, which shortened his life.
Yeah.
But in those 39 years, he accomplished quite a bit. So that's the whole crux of this thing. And if that guy had lived anywhere near the age of these other guys, who knows what kind of music we might have been getting out of him, because he was making up this music, composing this music at a very young age. So that's all the start of this. Now, you can break up his musical career probably in 2 periods. That's the way I like to see it anyway. There's the Tin Pan Alley and the Broadway years. Anybody know where Tin Pan Alley is?
It's in Manhattan someplace.
It's in Manhattan, all right. It's on 28th and not too far off of Broadway on 28th Street. So that I didn't know that either, and I looked it up today. I thought, where is Tin Pan Alley? I didn't hear about it. Anyway, 1913 to 1923, that's 10 years, which is mostly his New York Tin Pan Alley and Broadway years. That was followed by a trip over to Europe. This was when he went over to Europe from 1924 to 1928, and he worked with a lot of the classical musical people over there, and he was learning their type of music. Some of them even said, I forget who it was, one of them said, why do you want to mock me? You already got your own style of music. You don't want to change that. But he went over there to talk to the composers over there. So he spent 10 years over there. And during that time, I think it's one of his first songs, if not the first song, at the age of 15. And he was a song plugger in New York City at the time, in Tin Pan Alley. And he wrote this tune. It's called, everybody knows this one, I'm sure. The title of the song was, When You Want 'Em, You Can't Get 'Em. When you got 'em, you don't want 'em. That was the title of the song. This song earned George Gershwin the sum total of about 15 cents. He was earning $15 a week in Tin Pan Alley. So he didn't make a lot of money. And actually, I got that wrong. I was wrong. Inflation. That earned him 50 cents for that song. He probably got that up on his wall or something.
Yeah.
During that time frame, how many of you knew George Gershwin composed a lot of piano player roles on the piano? I don't know how you make piano player roles, but he did. He did some 140 player piano roles early in his career, which was his main source of income. That's how he made his money, a lot of it. And he even recorded additional roles throughout the 20s, so those are floating around somewhere, I'm sure. Then he goes over to Europe, and this is where he composed Rhapsody in Blue to begin with. And he composed it to play on the piano with just raw piano music. And then he got together with a guy named Fede Grothe. Everybody know who he is? Yeah.
Grand Canyons.
Grand Canyon Suite fame, yeah. So Fede is the one that orchestrated it. And then in comes Paul Whiteman. And the Paul Whiteman arranged it for his band. And that was in 1924. So when that came about, the opening of the Rhapsody in Blue is this big clarinet piece, this crescendo that became, everybody recognized it, right? Rhapsody in Blue right out of the top. But that was not in the original arrangement. But when the clarinets came on, it did this. They said, that's great, let's start it that way. So that's the genesis of Rhapsody in Blue. Then along comes An American in Paris. And this was first performed in Carnegie Hall on December 13, 1928. So this is when he got back from Europe, actually. Then after that came the opera Porgy and Bess, and that was in 1935. And those are the three main classical compositions. He's got others. But anyway, those are by way of background. There's a couple of Rhapsody in Blue pieces that I liked that I found in YouTube. One of them, the one I mentioned before was the one where he had just the raw music in there and he was banging away with it. The other one I really like is Leonard Bernstein. He was my favorite when I was growing up. Do anybody remember hearing Leonard Bernstein on public television? He used to do these programs. He learned a lot. Anyway, Leonard played that. He was the piano solo with the New York Philharmonic in 1976. That's when he introduced his version of it, which I really liked. So that's kind of the classical part of it. So, but some of the best-known songs that he came up with, first of all, was 1919. Anybody know what he might have, a song he might have written in 1919? Any guesses? I would have never guessed it. Swanee.
Oh, really?
Swanee in 1919.
Really?
This was followed by Fascinating Rhythm, 1924. Embraceable You, 1928. I Got Rhythm, 1930. And finally, Summertime, one of the best known ones, in 1935. So that's kind of the background. Then, if we get into the 1924 to 28 period, that's when he was into these Broadway musicals. And the first one was a musical called Lady Be Good. And Lady Be Good, that came out in 1924-25. He opened it up in Broadway's West End, and that was then moved to, which it opened on Broadway. I'm not sure what theater, I didn't catch the theater. But starring in Lady Be Good on Broadway was, anybody know? How about Fred Astaire and his sister Adele?
Yeah.
Fred and Adele Astaire
Speaking of Fred.
were starred in it. That play ran for 326 performances,
Sorry.
and two of its best-known scores were Lady Be Good and Fascinating Rhythm. So let's start with that. Enough of me talking. Am I okay here?
Yeah, I think so. The recording's in your pocket, so.
All right, let's see here. Where am I? Well, got the wrong one. I knew that didn't sound right. Hello, everybody. Have a seat. My goodness, it's getting crowded here. Okay, so let's start with Lady Be Good. Then I'll turn it around and I'll play it right. Lady Be Good. And the other one from the musical Lady Be Good, Fascinating Rhythm. Now, another thing I didn't realize, Gershwin, he was to my way, a classical composer. And he writes all these songs, and this happens to be in the jazz era, really, which started up in the 20s, basically. So he was right in the center of that. So I got rhythm, everybody plays the jazz it up. So this is my version, anyway, of I Got Rhythm, if I play it right. Thank you. So that was 1924. Lady Be Good. 1926, he wrote a song called Someone to Watch Over Me. And all these tunes, by the way, composed or written by George and lyrics by Ira Gershwin. So anyway, this particular song, Someone to Watch Over Me, it was in a musical called OK, O-H-K-A-Y. Anybody ever heard that? Nobody saw OK. Anyway, there's another one. I don't know why they come up and refresh these every now and then. You would think it would be time for them to maybe go back and come up with a new production of these, don't you think, on Broadway? Maybe. Anyway, just a thought. Anyway, from OK in 1926, and this song was sung by Gertrude Lawrence. And another thing I noticed, and we'll see as we go through here, names we're all familiar with come out in this thing, and one of them, I think we all know Gertrude Lawrence, know the name anyway. So this was sung by Gertrude Lawrence in the musical OK. Someone to watch over. Gertrude Lawrence, 1928. Now also, No, that was 1926, sorry. Then in 1928, there was a song used in 2 different Broadway productions. One of them was Treasure Girl. I've never heard of it. Any of you heard of it? Nobody's heard of that one? Well, there's one you might have heard of, Strike Up the Band. At least we know that. The music, Strike Up the Band. So that was, Treasure Girl was in 1928, and 1938, Strike Up the Band. Both of them had I've Got a Crush on You. So here's I Got a Crush on You. I've Got a Crush on You. 2 years later, 1938, up comes Girl Crazy. Now this is one you may have heard of. Anybody? No. So we're all young. We're too young. Well, this was a musical that ran from October 1930 through June of 31. And this has got some interesting people in it. This was Ethel Merman's stage debut in New York. And Ethel, she sang, among other things, I Got Rhythm, which launched her 50-year career. And then Ginger Rogers, which we all know, who we all know as a dancer. This launched her singing career. She actually sang in that play Girl Crazy, Embraceable You and But Not For Me. And she became an overnight star after being on Broadway. So that's 2 biggies. Now, this is also interesting. Go to a stage play. Who's down below the stage? The orchestra pit. Have any idea who might be in the orchestra pit? I didn't know. Well, how about Benny Goodman? Gene Krupa.
Wow.
Glenn Miller. Tommy Dorsey.
What?
That's 4 guys who became big-time band leaders in the swing era in the orchestra pit for Girl Crazy in 1930. I found that pretty amazing.
That was before we were born.
What's that?
That was before we were born.
Yeah, that's right. I knew I was born in the wrong era. There were 3 different film adaptations of Girl Crazy. The most notable one was in 1943, and it starred Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland. Those two were inseparable. Subsequently, in 1965, there was an MGM film starring Connie Francis. However, they changed the title of this one to When the Boys Meet the Girls. Now that seems to be somewhat heard of. But even though they changed the title, it had some of the original Girl Crazy tunes, among them being Embraceable You and But Not For Me. And this movie starred Connie Francis and co-starred, among others, Louis Armstrong. So there's a lot of people got involved with old George here. So this, as I mentioned, it featured Embraceable You, but Biding My Time, But Not For Me, and I Got Rhythm. They were all the original version from Girl Crazy were also in the latest version when they changed the title to When the Boys Met the Girls. So I'd like to play a medley of 3 of them from that particular music. And I'm going to have a sip.
Drinking on the job, huh?
You must have good lungs.
Well, it's vodka, so there's no smell. Okay. I gotta get the right one here. pick up the tempo a little.
Fantastic.
Okay, then we get up to 1935. Remember, he passed away in 1939, so this is kind of his last. It was Porgy and Bess, and that was a major production. And one, and the one that I like, Porgy and Bess, has got a lot of good music in it. If everybody's seen Porgy and Bess, they saw the movie anyway, which is kind of good. One I like is Summertime. And I think I did this at my last one, because I like it so much, I'm going to include it.
Right there.
So here goes Summertime. So there you have it.
Good progress.
That's Gershwin and Gershwin. So we appreciate it. I enjoy doing it, and appreciate all you guys coming.
Great job.
Tell us a little bit about how you came to play the harmonica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, shortly after my wife passed away, when I was spending 2 years cleaning out the house, And I got the bulletin from Pleasant Hill Senior Center, and some people are familiar with. And in that bulletin, they have all the different programs that are going on. One of them happened to be about the harmonica. And I said, what in the world is the harmonica doing in the Pleasant Hill bulletin? So it happened to be there because, being a senior center, there were a lot of people had problems with breathing, COPD, and whatever. And this particular thing was advertised as a good way to exercise your lungs, get you to take a nice deep breath and all that. And so I said, okay, so I can take a vacation from trying to dispose of everything in this house I don't want and get in these classes. So I signed up for a class. I think it was 6 sessions long or something like that. Turns out there's this young kid, he's about 15, who's teaching it. So he talks about how he learned, and he was doing pretty good at age 15, a lot better than I'm doing right now. So as the story goes and he tells it, he did something terribly wrong that his mother did not like. So she said, go to your room. And he stayed in his room for, I don't know, 3 months, he said. She wouldn't let him out of his room. I have no idea what this is all about. Anyhow, what does a kid do? He's sitting in his room for 3 months. He gets out his phone, right? And he gets on and he decides to order a harmonica, and he gets a harmonica over the phone, and he starts taking lessons while he's there. So that's how he learned. So he came to class, and that's how this whole thing got started.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going through this class, and I had a real problem because how do you decide to only hit one note, and how do you know which note? Because with this darn thing, there's 10 holes, and each one is a separate note of going up and down the scale. If you breathe in, it's one note. If you breathe out, it's another note.
Oh.
So I had taken piano back in the day, so I knew the scale, but this thing was not on a scale A, B, C, A, B, C, D. This would have on the top of the note number 4 down or number 5 up, and I ain't gonna learn this thing. Where's number 4 and which is up and which is down? So I was a little bit frustrated with that, but then they got to the point where at least I could get my lips right, so I could play a note instead of, which is also good, by the way, with harmonica, because it covers a lot of mistakes. But anyhow, after about 3 sessions in, he gave us a lesson to play this one tune, which I forgot what the name of it was, but it was a tune I was familiar with. So I had it up here. So I started playing it and ignoring these up, 5 down and 6 up and blah, blah, blah. And I just started playing it. So he goes around the next week and he's going around this class, and I think there were 10, 12 of us. And everybody's playing it, and he says, yeah, that was very good. And then he gives you some nice constructive criticism. So everybody's doing it. Then he gets to me, and I played it, and he says, yeah, that's very good. And he says, but there's one thing I don't understand. I says, what's that? He says, you never looked at the notes. I says, the notes just confuse me. It's up here, and I've got the note here, and I figured out a way to determine what note that was on the harmonica, and that's how I learned. So I only play tunes that I have in my head. So that's how it all got started. And that was in, let's see, 1920, I guess. So I've been 3 years, I think.
Wow.
And I'm playing by myself, and I was out on the balcony. This is COVID. And everybody is in here, pretty much isolated. So I'm out on the balcony one morning, I guess it was, and I'm playing this thing. And I hear this voice from down below. And this lady says, that sounds very nice. I look down, and Who's there, Peggy?
Oh, Peggy.
You got it.
You discovered it, Peggy.
Yeah.
She says, you ought to play for us. And I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just out here looking around and saying, oh yeah, it sounds very good. You should do that. So okay, and I kind of forgot about it. And I don't know, a few months later, sitting down having dinner or lunch, I'm not sure which, with John and Peggy. And John's not here, but he said, he was a little more forceful. You ought to do that. Yeah. He said, yeah. So I relented and I did it. So I enjoyed doing it. And I'll tell you, I have learned a lot. I've learned about, where these tunes come from, and I've picked up some melodies, and it's getting better and better. And all of that is because you guys are willing to sit here and listen to me.
You're getting better and better.
Well,
He's
that's-
practicing
I
a lot.
hope
We
that-
noticed the difference.
You notice the difference?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so
Very
do I.
interesting.
And so I appreciate everybody coming, and this is a fantastic audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
Thank you.
thank you for sharing your talent.
Quite welcome. All right.
Really good.
I said we're his fan club. Yeah. We'll